Hello, and welcome to Why I Love Warhammer, the series where I go into an unscripted ramble about why I love something in this hobby. And on today's episode, it's the Iron Warriors, the followers of Peturabo, the Chaos Fallen, who don't like chaos, but they fell anyway. I really like this faction. I think part of it is because, for the same reason I love the Night Lords, it's the back in the 3.5 edition codex, you could swap out 2 fast attacks for an extra heavy support. And as the years have gone by, I've just appreciated heavy support options more and more. I've grown to really love the tanks, and the idea of trading out a couple of slots to get an extra tank in there is phenomenal to me. I think so many of the heavy support options for the Chaos Space Marine look beautiful, from the Defiler to just all the various other tanks, the Vindicators. Brilliant. From a lore perspective, from a color scheme perspective, I like that as well. I like the silver nature of them, and I love the hazard stripes. I think hazard stripes look really cool, and the fact that it's so central to the Iron Warrior it's the Iron Warriors general aesthetic and general vibe, I think is just really good. From a lore perspective, I enjoy factions. I enjoy Chaos Legions that didn't really want to fall to Chaos, that hated the Chaos Gods. So technically they're Chaos Undivided, but they've got no great love for Chaos. I think that's really fascinating. And also, I love the fact that they're these masters of Seige Warfare, that when you pit them against the Imperial Fists, who are the masters of fortification, I think that makes for a really interesting kind of story dynamic and a really good counterplay off each other. So, yeah, with that said, let's go through some of these models that I think look really, really good. So, this is Peturabo himself. I love the guns. I love these guns mounted to the wrists. I think they're just really aesthetically cool in this game. And of course, he wields a giant hammer. That's always something to love. And Peturabo here on his diorama base, it looks like he's standing on like the head of a knight, of an Imperial knight, and I think that's really fascinating. It really elevates his power level, which I just really appreciate. And he just looks really cool. I think it'd be a really fun model to build and paint up. It's just, yeah, fascinating model. And I love the character. I think it's a really fascinating character, Peturabo, and he deserves a lot of love and respect. I mean, there's such detailing on this. It's with all the Horus Heresy characters, they're so detailed. There's so much love poured into these sculpts, and when people paint them up, like, yeah, I use the ones from the website to try and avoid any copyright issues. But when people paint up their Primarchs, they do it with such love and such affection, such care and attention. You really feel it. The more Horus Heresy content you absorb, the more you grow to love it through sheer proxy, because it's clear how much people love these things, and you feel that. And yeah, with the Peturabo here, it's just so true there. There's so much love poured into the sculpt. You can tell whoever made this sculpt, whoever designed the Peturabo sculpt, cared. And that's something really important, that there's care put into it. You can feel when there's no care put into a model. You can feel when there is care put into it. And with Peturabo, I feel like a lot of care was put in. Another Horus Heresy Iron Warriors model. Just look at this thing. It's got a spear hammer, got a shield, big mech, glorious. As a Knights player, I enjoy the pistons involved here. I just think it looks like a beautiful model, and yeah, just a great one to have with you. Great one to just exist. Hazard stripes everywhere. I love that silver color scheme. It's black, silver, and hazard stripes because it feels practical. It's got this armor, it's made of metal, it's metal. Let's put some hazard stripes on it because that's our aesthetic. And there's black because some parts of the armor just come out black. The Iron Warriors feel like the armor's been factory produced, and for an army like them, that feels right. It just feels right for them. Iron Warriors, Terminators. What's really cool with these guys is I love these tassels that they've got. It's almost like, it's kind of like they've got the protection from the armor, and they're just like hiding the seams. They've just got some really basic straps on, It just makes them feel very practical. And again, these guys being Horus Heresy, they're painted up really lovingly. You've got dust coming up them, and they've been around for a while, so they're starting to rust a bit. The dust's getting into them. I think these are just really cool models, really well painted, and they're just so. And they're kind of these slow, pondering models that will kind of mosey up the field, just being intimidating. It just feels very apt for the Iron Warriors. You can feel, you could imagine like looking out from your fortification and seeing these guys looming towards you, and your spirit would just break a little bit more. What can I say? If you're going to be master of a siege, you need good weaponry, and this looks like this tank kind of resembles a medieval catapult to me, and I think it's just a really cool looking model. I love the Rhino chassis, and this thing just being mounted on top. It almost feels improvised, and I mean that as a compliment. It looks like they've gone to the field. They started their siege. They don't need the Rhino anymore, so they've just assembled a big cannon on top, and that's beautiful to me. I think that's just a really ingenious design, and if it is as I imagine it to be, that's a story behind a model that's just been conveyed through its design, and that's really important. That's really nice when there's a story conveyed through how it's been modelled, and especially when you've got these, and with the Space Marine factions, they've got these specialties that they've clearly been developed for. The Iron Warriors being these masters of siege warfare, it really shows in models like this one. Again, black, silver, has its stripes. Perfect. Like, what more can you say? It's just so well made and it just conveys its design beautifully. I also got to admit, these guys do feel like they'd be pretty all right to paint. Like, spray silver, paint black, yellow hazard stripes, sorted. I think that, but even then, there's so much detail in them. There's so much more to it than just three colors. They just really show that love and attention that paid to them. I think, yeah, this guy really shows the level of detail that can be involved. So I've gone through a lot of Horus Heresy models because that's where you get a lot of Iron Warrior specific models. So what I'm showing you from here on out are going to be models from the general Chaos Space Marine range that I think fit well in the Iron Warriors army. So this one's the Warpsmith. He's just cool. He's got all these tentacles coming out. He looks like he's got a lot of irony stuff with him. He'd fit well in my view, and it's a cool looking model. I love the axe. I love these robot tentacle things. It's like Doctor Octopus, but 1.5 times. Brilliant model. I love these chimneys coming out of them as well. The Forge Fiend and Mauler Fiend, I think these guys are incredible looking. These demon engines. And this one's even got the Iron Warriors colour scheme, the silver and the hazard stripes. I think it's a really well made model. It's like a dragon meets gorilla. And I think with the way the Iron Warriors are, I think this fits very well in the aesthetic. And also the general army flavour of being, holding siege. I think this thing ramming down the doors of a fortification would be very intimidating and work really well. So yeah, I think, and also it's just it's so monstrous looking as well. Again, if you're thinking like siege warfare, you want to break the foe's spirit, and a monster like this would certainly help break the spirit of the whoever you're laying a siege to. The Vindicator. This heavy support option is, that was one that I was looking at back in 4th edition. I think it's a really beautiful looking model. Rhino chassis, I think that's fun. I love the gun at the front and this big shield, like it's a snow plow like thing. And I like this little towel head it's got skewered at the top. One of these painted up as Iron Warriors, I think, would be a phenomenal model that you could really like. I'd love to run 3. I think 3 Vindicators would be so cool. Land Raider, same deal. It's a nice square blocky vehicle. I like them. It feels like I could stack them. It's got a really good range of weapons. It's a transport as well. And again, paint this thing up to look like an Iron Warriors model, and you've got something really phenomenal there. And you've got something which could really, really almost be a centerpiece in of itself, despite being a tank transport. I think you paint this up as Iron Warriors, and you've got a centerpiece. Predator, this one's already been painted up Iron Warrior style. Again, they're beautiful models. Proper traditional tank with the rotating turret, has the gold trim, just adding a level of detail and love and care to the model. But with the metal, with the silver and black, it feels very practical. Even though us as hobbyists will pour a lot of time and love and affection and care into our models when we're painting these things up, with the Iron Warriors, you almost want the aim to be that it doesn't look like they put a lot of effort into it in universe. And so, yeah, this looks like they've just taken it out, minimal paint, off you go, time for warfare. And yeah, the Predator here just looks glorious for that. Lord Discordant on this thing, again, a demon engine like this just deserves to be in an Iron Warriors army. Look at this thing. It's a mess of arachnid and machine and demon and guns and blades and tentacles with a dude on top. It's an absolutely terrifying thing to have walking across the field, and it just deserves a lot of love and affection for that. This thing in your leading your Iron Warriors in 40k would be a terrifying sight to behold, and therefore so worth it. Such a cool looking model. And the Rhino, the classic, the transport. I think rhinos look really cool. I love rhinos. I've got one for my Night Lords, and I think one of these painted up Iron Warrior style would also be really beautiful. Yeah, I love that. I love the turret weapon on it. I love the shape. I love the spikes on the front. I love the spikes you can put down the side. I think rhinos look really cool. The Iron Warriors definitely would use rhinos for their transport. This drill thing, again, I think works really well for the Iron Warriors. It's one of the expert kits formerly Forge World. I think it looks really cool. This thing, drilling through a world and spawning up in the middle of the battlefield would be such a terrifying sight to behold. And then you got the Iron Warriors piling out of it. Phenomenal piece of machinery, phenomenal kit. Brilliant for an Iron Warriors force. The Defiler, my favourite model in the Chaos Space Marines range. Again, this type of demon engine is begging for an Iron Warriors colour scheme. Giant robot crab, huge turret gun here, guns here, bailmates you can swap out for other guns. It's such a glorious model. I may end up having to make a video on its own of why I love the Defiler, because it's such an impressive machine, and I really wish they could make more demon engines which had the Defiler aesthetic, because I think it's such an underrated way of designing demon engines, and I think it's a beautiful, beautiful kit. And again, if you're an Iron Warriors player running one or three of these, such a cool model. I love the Defiler so much, and yeah, belongs in this list. Classic Chaos Lord, gun, hammer. If it's wielding a hammer, it belongs in an Iron Warriors army as far as I'm concerned. I mean, maybe it would, maybe you don't have the points for it in yours, but it's still a really awesome looking model. And yeah, it just reeks of power. It's such an imposing model that it really, even though it's not being much bigger than any of your normal Marines, you'd feel it walking up the battlefield. And that's the important thing, is that feeling you get, that imposing nature of the Chaos Lord. Final slide. Another Chaos Lord. Again, I love the axe. I love this. I love the gun that's also a chainsword. The regal cape. The headpiece with the Dark Angel's helmet and the Tyranid head spiked on. Again, this thing leading your your Iron Warriors army, paint up in an Iron Warriors colour scheme, and you've got something really phenomenal. Yeah, anyway, thank you for watching to the end of the video. Really appreciate it. I'm going to say current question of the day. Which faction do you feel is the most practical in terms of its aesthetic? Which looks like it's the most practical army? And if you want to give this video a like, really appreciate it. If you want to comment something else below, that's also appreciated as well. If you want to subscribe for more relentless positivity in your feed, please do. The button's right there. And if I've got a link to a Patreon in the description as well, which if you want to drop me some support there, I'd really appreciate that as well. Yeah, in the meantime, I hope you're having a really good day, and I will see you next time.